Recording in progress.
All right. Good morning, all. We have a few more people jumping in here. Good to see you. All right. Start sharing. We're just going to jump right in. And one of the things I'll say off the bat is that I want this to be a highly interactive conversation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, interrupt me, put it in the chat, anything like that. Happy to make this custom for you all. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the state of the AI industry, where it is, where it's going, and what you can do next to help prepare your company for our new AI industry. Uh, all right, some things around here. Got a few more folks joining in. So, you should all be able to see my screen here. If you can't, let me know. And to start us off here, first question is, who am I? I am Ross Hartman, founder of Kingo AI, and we're a company that helps others implement AI. We help work with them on adoption. So this would include things like training, strategy, AI boot camps, implementation of AI agents, and I'll be talking about some of those things as we go. And I've been working in the AI and technology field for quite a while. We've helped companies of various sizes design and implement AI roadmaps. So some of the things I want to talk about today, starting off with the state of the AI industry and generative AI, how companies are using this today. We're going to be doing a number of demos with the goal being for you to see how AI works. Unfortunately, in an hour's time, I'm not going to be able to teach you all the intricacies of how you use AI optimally, but we're going to look at some of its capabilities. We can talk about specific uses of AI in your organization. We can also get into prompt engineering, but I'm going to want to go into what's next in AI and what you can do about it. And again, please feel free to ask me questions along the way, enter something in the chat, or just feel free to interrupt me. Before I dig into any of this, does anybody have any burning AI questions or anything during today's session that you want to see me go over? If you have a request, feel free to just ask or put it in the chat. Any questions?
Not yet.
Get some? Yeah, Michael, did you have a thought there?
No, just nothing yet at this point, Ross. I'd say plug away.
All right, let's do it. So I want to start off with kind of the state of generative AI and some stats here. So generative AI is now mainstream. I'm sure this is not surprising to any of you out there. I'll do a couple of studies from across the years. So a year ago, which means I imagine these numbers are larger now, 71% of organizations said they regularly use generative AI in at least one business function, up from 65% just 6 months earlier. Looking ahead, Gartner's forecasting that more than 80% of enterprises will have generative AI apps or APIs in production by 2026, compared with fewer than 5% in 2023. So you can see, and again, no surprise, ChatGPT and these other generative AI models have really kicked off this new wave of AI that we are seeing across business. And for small and mid-sized businesses, they're obviously racing to adopt this stuff. In the 2024 US Chamber of Commerce survey, 40% of small businesses already use generative AI. Again, nearly double from a 2023 survey. 91% of those AI using small, mid-sized businesses believe the technology will help their company grow in the future. And technology foundations are in place. 99% of SMBs now use at least one digital platform, making it easier to layer AI on top of existing tools. Now, when we look at kind of worker level usage and AI agents, Slack's June 2025 Workforce Index, so that was very recent, shows 60% of desk workers already using AI. And I will note, if this is different than your experience of maybe who in your organization is using AI, essentially more people are using it than are admitting it. And there are various reasons why that might be. But the daily use has climbed 233% in just 6 months. It's really starting to take off. 40% of employees have experimented with an AI agent chatbot, and 23% have delegated real work to an AI agent. I'll just tell you, AI agents are drafting responses to our emails at Kingo, just to give you an idea of some of the things that they're doing on a daily basis. Daily AI users report 64% higher productivity and 81% greater job satisfaction than colleagues who have not yet adopted the tools. So it's not just that it makes you more effective, it makes it so that your day-to-day tasks are not as burdensome, not as mentally exhausting. And then last slide I'll give here on stats is that in an Accenture field study, GitHub Copilot, so this is one that helps developers, it helped developers complete coding tasks up to 55% faster and boosted their confidence for 85% of participants. A 6-month Microsoft 365 Copilot trial across 56 firms found knowledge workers finished documents 12% faster and cut time spent on email by 25%. So these are hard numbers with real efficiency gains that we're seeing. Again, Slack's recent workplace index found that daily AI users are 58% more focused and 64% more productive than non-AI users. This is a little bit about the state of generative AI. And you can kind of see these trends, they are just continuing in this exponential fashion. So today I want to go over a number of different demos to give you an idea of how AI works, where you all can use it. I've got a number of demos here that I can show for analyzing financials, 10Ks earnings, for instance, anything that's valuable for you, balance statements, income statements, balance sheets. We can look at software creation. So Kingo's company website is 100% AI generated. Wasn't a single human line of code written on that thing. We can show you how to create widgets or interactive embedded software that goes on your website, real estate investing, creative tax strategies. We can do competitive intelligence analysis, and it's called a kill the company strategic framework. So we can take out one of your competitors, which is one of my favorite ones to do. Create somebody in here, a marketing strategy, a flyer from your company's information or an advertisement of some kind, taking a video, putting it into a language model and having it pop out a standard operating procedure, writing emails in your voice, putting together a Q&A bot, like an HR bot that answers questions on your company's handbook, documents, policies, benefits, project risk analysis to help you put together risk mitigation basically projects, putting together RACI matrices and responsibilities matrices. There's deal sourcing, solving problems, and then also training. So this is an incredible use case for AI as well, is where it can help you with supplier negotiation, salary negotiation, objection handling for your sales team, and just prepping people for difficult situations, which can include your sales team, HR, customer support, anyone who has to deal with another human, which is also just generally anyone in a management or leadership position. So with all that said, any of these demos jump out to anybody as useful, go ahead and either just let me know, or you can put that in the chat and I can make sure we get to those today. But anything jump out as valuable for you all?
I'll defer to Alex for that.
Customer support bot. Okay, great. And I'll tell you one of my favorite ones.
Competitor intelligence would be
Yeah,
interesting.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll say that the marketing strategy one can be valuable too, just to see. I can teach you a little bit about different prompting techniques during that. Now, I will say I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the basics of AI just because we only have an hour. So I'm not going into what is AI and how does it work. But generally speaking, if you are not into this technology yet, I would encourage you to use it on the personal side. So using it for coming up with personalized itineraries for your upcoming vacations, creating recipes for you based on your taste preferences, dietary restrictions, etc. If you're doing any shopping online, go to O3 and have it find you deals or coupons or incentives. It can analyze medical tests. Obviously, it doesn't replace your primary care physician, workout plans, journaling, chatting, gaming, bedtime stories for your kids, greeting cards. Again, if you're not into this technology on the project or on the work side, please take a look on this personal side. That'll start to bleed into the work side.
I think you hit a nerve with Elena on coupons and deals for shopping.
Oh, hey, you should do it. If you have not done this, I heavily advise you do. Anytime I consider purchasing anything online, I go to O3, which is one of the chat models, and I'll show you that one. It's an exceptional researcher. It will find you something.
Wow.
It's pretty great. All right, and then we got your
Sounds
quick
great.
project risk analysis as well. That's great. All right. So let's go into chat. I want to start off with competitive intelligence analysis. So my first question is, does anybody want to take out their competitor? And if so, go ahead and just give me a name and we'll make it happen.
I assume we're all going to say the same name. There's a group called Robert M. Curry. It's Currey.
We'll pay triple if you can actually do it.
All right.
Yeah, that one.
One. Okay, great. Uh, and you all are FHS risk.
Correct.
I want to make sure I have your website right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put in Robert M. Curry's website here, and then we'll put in name of the company. Now, to do this competitive intelligence analysis, we are going to use what's called deep research. So has anybody here heard of deep research? So in ChatGPT, it's kind of like having a PhD research assistant with you at all times. So you can click on this tool button, you can click Run Deep Research, and that will, from this point forward, kind of activate your PhD research assistant. Now, one of the interesting things about this is you can click on sources and you can begin to tie ChatGPT to other platforms. And this is a relatively new feature. They're called data connectors. We're just going to have it search the internet for data about this competitor. However, we could have it search our SharePoint, Teams, calendar, email. I'm sure we've all had a situation where there was that email that we forgot, we couldn't find, and we know generally what it was about, but forgot the subject name. You can have an AI agent search over your email to find that. You can connect into your ERP, your CRM, your financial system by creating additional connectors in here. So let's kick this off. It's going to ask me a couple of follow-up questions here. Let's say, what I'm going to say is that
We'd like a list of their competitors, of their clients.
not a bad idea. We're trying to get a competitive intelligence.
And also any litigation against them.
Oh, it'll definitely find that. All right. I'm not sure if we'll get their client list, but we can always ask. Any geographic region you're specifically interested in, or US in general?
US.
Okay, great. Any specific industries?
Real estate and hospitality.
And insurance.
All right, let's kick it off. So this is a basic form of an AI agent being something that is able to connect into software or use tools in order to accomplish an objective. And so in this case, it's using a search engine in order to help us put together this research paper. Now, the thing to note about an AI agent is it's kind of like an employee in the sense that we don't want to just assign a task and then sit here and wait for the response because it can take a while. In this case, it'll take anywhere from about 6 minutes up to 60 minutes. I have seen it take a full hour to put together this report. Now, I'm hoping it won't take that long, but we're not going to wait around to find out. We're going to keep going forward. I want to go to some of our other use cases here that folks are interested in. I can show you how to put together a very basic customer support bot. And then Heather, for the project risk analysis, if you wouldn't mind, could you just describe a sample project in the chat that you would want to you would kind of want to analyze? In other words, what's the project? Describe what you're trying to accomplish, and then we'll have the AI try to identify risks for us. And the more you can provide, the better results you'll get. All right, so let's go forward with the customer support bot. I want to show you how to build this real quick. Fortunately, it's super easy. Anybody heard of GPTs? So GPTs are these kind of AI assistants within ChatGPT that you can train based on prompting. So here's how you get to them. You can go to you'll see this GPT button in your sidebar on the left. And click that, and that'll take you to what's called the GPT store. So the GPT store, there's a bunch of these kind of assistants in here that you can find that help you create graphs and charts and analyze Excel and such. Most of the time, I advise folks just create their own. The way to create your own, again, pretty simple. In the top right, you click this create button, and that will bring you to a page like this. To do a customer support bot, again, pretty simple. I'm just going to call it customer support bot, very creative. That's the name of our assistant here. And then in the instructions, I'm going to tell it, use the attached document to answer any questions. That's all I'm going to say. Use the attached document to answer any questions. Then here's the key, right? I'm going to come down and click upload file. And for this, I am going to go to my files here, and I'm going to upload a user manual. So this user manual, in the case of customer support, is going to contain all of these standard maybe problems that we come across, frequently asked questions, anything that might cover answers to questions that an end user is going to have. In this case, this is for a company that sells servers. So that's what this customer support manual is here. Now I'm going to turn off some of the capabilities here because I only want it to be able to search my documents. A change that they recently made to GPTs is that you can now select different models, where before you used to only be able to do GPT 4.0. Now you can do something like O3. And I want to show you that so you can see what O3 does well versus GPT 4.0. Okay, and at the very top, we can have it generate an icon or logo for our customer support bot. So that's it. That was the entire process for creating a customer support bot. Pretty simple. Now we can get far more sophisticated, but again, just to recap how we created it, we went to the GPT store on the left-hand side. We created a GPT. I put in name, instructions to answer questions from the document, and then I uploaded a customer support document. Now from here,
Can I ask a question, Rose, quickly?
please.
If this is just in the let's say we wanted to do this as a company, would we need to subscribe to the enterprise version of ChatGPT to integrate it into Slack or something like that if we wanted to, or if you wanted to integrate it, you're doing this off of the personal a personal pro version of ChatGPT. I'm just curious, that are using a customer support bot, how they integrate it into their company.
It's a very good question. So if you're going to, so first thing I'll say is that you could just share this GPT with somebody else. They don't have to have a ChatGPT account to use it. With that said, to your point, if you want to embed it in a client portal or a customer portal or your website, I would use a different service for that. I would use probably something like Dante, or I would use Chatbase, or I would use VoiceFlow. And I'll put all these in the...
If we just wanted to use it for internal employees, we could still use the ChatGPT.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you're going to use it for internal employees, there's a couple thoughts here. One is that I would upgrade to ChatGPT Team rather than either the free or the standard plus version. And the reason for that is by default, ChatGPT is training on your data. So your 5-year plan, your financials, your contracts, anything you upload, it's training on that data. Now you can turn it off. In the top right-hand corner, click on your logo, go to settings, go to data controls, and at the very top, there's a friendly little setting that says improve the model for everyone. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Well, no, of course you don't want to. You want to make sure that this is in the off position. Now with ChatGPT Team, this is always in the off position and it is locked in the off position, so nobody can turn it on even if they wanted to. Now, if you're doing just the free version or the $20 a month version, then folks can, it'll be on by default and they can turn it off or on as they will. Now, the team version is $25 a month rather than $20 a month, and you also get centralized billing. So again, that's why I typically recommend it for companies. And then to your point, if you have the team version, you can share GPTs with just your organization. So when you go to the GPT store, you'll see just those GPTs, or you'll see those GPTs that your company's created. All right, and I aborted that too quickly. Let me get back into my GPTs and let's test this thing. So first thing I want to do is show the customer support bot using GPT-4o. And let's look at how GPT-4o handles this process. So I'm going to say, my server is beeping. What do I do? And remember that this is going to answer questions based on the document that we uploaded. And additionally, it's using GPT-4o, which is what's called a non-thinking or a non-reasoning model. So it's going to search my documents and then it's going to immediately respond. So it doesn't think before it speaks. And this is a pretty important note here about how it works. So here we go. We get these different steps on what to do. And it's pulling this information, again, from the document. It read it from the document. Now I want to refresh this, and I want to show you the same thing, but showing you using the O3 model. So let's switch the model. Same question. And notice the difference here. So it's going to start reading the documents, but when it finds information in the documents, it's going to start thinking. And it's going to take a little bit to think. It could be anywhere from, let's say, 20 seconds up to 3 or 5 minutes of thinking internally. And you might be saying, why would I want to wait while the AI is responding to me? Well, it's just the same reason why generally as a human, if you spend more time to think about a problem, you get better answers. And that's exactly the same thing that goes on with these models. So this took 28 seconds to read the document and think about it. And then it's giving me deeper answers typically, or more well thought out answers. O3 is an exceptional model. 4o is more of like a chat buddy or a chat partner. It's good for getting information from documents. O3, in my opinion, is a much better problem solver and brainstormer. Okay, so Scott, I know you requested this one. Any other questions or thoughts on customer support bots, or anybody else have any questions on this one here? Okay, so pretty straightforward. I want to do this other challenge that Heather had suggested for project risk analysis. So I'll get into that. And then we'll go back to competitive intelligence analysis. And then I can also show you any of the other demos that you all might be interested in. Now, Heather gave us a little bit of background information here, which I'm going to put into model. And this is an important point of prompting. Has anybody heard of that term, prompt engineering? So it's basically, how do I ask the right questions to get the right answers? And that's the key. Generally speaking, the more information I provide, the better responses I'm going to get from these language models. So we're going to come in here, and I just want to start with a bit of a pre-mortem. So let's say our nonprofit's taking an existing building and converting it to 4 units for survivors of domestic violence and trafficking. Okay, Great. The property has an existing building that needs upgrade and the property flooded 10 years ago. Okay. What things can we do to mitigate the risks? Do any more? Okay, great. So let's say this. We're going to embark on this as a project, right? Let's run a pre-mortem on this project. Okay, so for anyone who may not be familiar, you might know what a post-mortem is. It's basically saying, okay, we completed a project. What are all the reasons it maybe didn't go to plan? A pre-mortem is where we say, we're thinking about doing this project, but before we do that, what are all the reasons that it could go terribly, terribly wrong? Let's pretend that it's 6 months in the future, we've done it and it's gone wrong. And then how can we create a risk mitigation strategy for this? So I'm going to use O3 for this challenge here. And again, that means that it is going to think internally. It's a reasoning model, and you can look and see its inner monologue. So I can open this up and see what it's thinking. It's kind of fun to read its internal monologue as it goes. Now you'll notice a recurring theme here is that O3 is very research happy. And so this is why I suggested it for searching for deals online, for instance. It always loves to go online and find more information. So it is searching. Well, it's giving me an error here. Let's see if we got any issues there. Let's try it again. All right, we'll see if we can get this rolling again. Just as a quick side note, if you ever have any issues with ChatGPT, you can go to status.openai.com, and this will show you whether there's an issue that's just for you or whether it's affecting kind of ChatGPT site-wide. Very helpful there. So again, now O3 is searching FEMA flood resilient building retrofit guidelines in 2024. And it could also help us to specify that I suspect this building is in California, but giving more context on that front could help the language model find more specific information. It's talking about HUD trauma-informed design guidelines, housing domestic violence survivors 2023, affordable housing rehab project funding risk, cost overruns, nonprofit 2024. So my usual question to folks is, how long would it have taken you to search all of these sites, read all of these articles, and synthesize it into one? And probably quite a while. At least I can say that for myself. So in a pre-mortem, we are now saying, imagined failure scenario, looking back from mid-2027, 2 years in, only one of our 4 units is habitable. Cash reserves are exhausted after a 31% cost overrun. A second 100-year storm left the building's ground floor uninsurable. The elevator equipment corroded beyond repair. Local opposition delayed zoning approvals for 14 months, and a change in federal climate funding policy pulled a $1 million gap financing source. Survivors we hope to house had to be referred elsewhere, eroding donor confidence and staff morale. That's a nightmare scenario, right? But again, when you want to do pre-mortems, you want to paint that nightmare scenario so that we can actually get some action in addressing some of these risks. So a couple of the risk categories here, we've got funding and cash flow, and federal and state grants can freeze or be rescinded. Inflation pushes hard or soft costs above contingencies, early signals to watch for, and some of the mitigation strategies or tactics that you can use. And it says assign an owner, very important here. So Heather, I'm going to just save these so that I can send these to you later if that's valuable. But you can all see here that it has cited its sources, so I can see where it got this information. And I can see that it's kind of not just pulling it out of thin air. It's citing its sources from FEMA, for instance. So it's talking about some of the things you can do on the labor and supply chain side, flood and environmental, design and code compliance, permitting and zoning, stakeholder and community alignment. And then we've got this next 90-day no regret actions. So this is a very basic look at some of the challenges that you might have via pre-mortem, but I can take this a step further. And these are some of the things that I would typically do. I take it in a couple different ways. One is I could say, if I could speak to anyone from any profession, expertise, or consultancy about this project, who would it be? So this is a pretty powerful question. And the core concept behind it is all of the world's experts, professionals, and consultants are in this black box. They're in this language model, and you just have to know how to extract their information. So now that we've got a list of risks, I want to consider how can we overcome these things and how can we plan this project so that it's most likely to succeed. So we're going to ask about who the experts might be, and it's going to go off and search and find me this list. After we get this list, I then want to ask, what sort of techniques, frameworks, and methodologies would these experts use in order to ensure this project goes well? So it's saying we might want to talk to a trauma-informed design architect and consultant. We might want to talk to flood resilience and climate adaptation or adaptation engineer, affordable housing finance strategist, community development financial institution, safe housing technical assistance hub, and why they matter for this project and where you can find them, right? Now, I'm not going to pursue talking to these people. Instead, I'm going to use the language model to help me extract information that they would normally tell me. So again, after this, I'm going to ask what sort of techniques, frameworks, and methodologies they might use. O3 being a very research happy model is going to go on and do a ton of research for me and pull all of this information out, which is very helpful, honestly. And then it's going to give me some of these methodologies. After we get those things, then we'll want to say, great, now let's bring this all together. And let's bring it from the strategic maybe down into the more tactical. So I only have, let's say, 2 people working on this project part-time in our nonprofit. What can we practically do in the next 60 days to move the needle on this? We have little to no budget for ourselves, right? Yeah, we can make that out, I guess. But you want to say what is your budget, how many resources do you have, and that'll make the AI's responses more applicable. So when we talk about the different techniques that would be used here, the SAM-HSA 6-principle trauma-informed approach, trauma-informed design guidelines and inclusive design playbooks, participatory design charrettes, and post-occupancy evaluations, and then just some other specific things that these experts would do in these different areas. So I don't know about you all, but for me, I would have no idea that I would want to take all this into consideration when doing a rehab project like this. But I can get that information from the model. And here's our 60-day tiny team action plan. So in week 1 to 2, let's do a 90-minute pre-mortem mini workshop with board delegates or board delegation and agree on the top 5 risks. Create single-page charter, our mission, our scope, boundaries, decision rights, set up cloud folder and Kanban board with risk, funding, design, and outreach lanes for our tasks, and draft a project at a glance PDF for outside experts. This is something that we can do in the first 2 weeks. It aligns our leadership team, gives us a shareable packet, and prevents scope creep beyond any dollars or before any dollars are spent. And then it continues on with a tactical list of things that we can do. So I won't continue any more on this particular example, but I hope you all can see some of the techniques that I'm using here. They apply pretty much any time you are doing a problem solving or brainstorming technique with a language model. So any thoughts or questions on this? All right. Do you see how this can be valuable for you?
Yeah, it would seem, Ross, that the skill is in knowing how to ask the questions to get you
Yeah, that's exactly right. So this skill is called prompt engineering as a specific term here. And that's exactly right. The better the questions I ask, the better responses. And when you're first getting started with ChatGPT or any of these other language models, generally speaking, we tend to treat it a bit like Google. So we give very generic searches, very high level questions, and what we get back are very generic answers and very high level answers. And when that happens, you might see the result and say, AI is not very good. It just doesn't really help me. Well, the reason for that is prompt engineering. We really need to dig in and build context and take time to form the wider picture. So yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. All right, we've got our competitive intelligence analysis, so let's go back to that. And then I can talk to you all a little bit about where the AI industry is going as well. So here we go. Competitive intelligence dossier on Robert M. Curry and Associates, some vulnerabilities and some risks. Now, first thing I want to note is look how long this is. Look how long this is compared to a standard ChatGPT response. It's a full research paper, right? That you wouldn't get from standard ChatGPT answer. And you'll notice also that it's citing its sources throughout this document. So if at any point we can go click on one of these and see where did you actually get this information. Now, I'm not going to read this full thing, and I imagine you're not going to want to either. But instead, let's just take a look at the quick takeaways here. So some of the potential vulnerabilities.
Did you email that to us?
I can definitely do that. Yeah, for sure. We have here, I'll just take a quick note of that. Narrow client focus and overdependency, competitive and market pressures, talent drain and cultural weaknesses, family dominated leadership and succession risks, and operational scale and innovation gaps. And again, we're not going to read this full thing. Instead, I'm going to have the model help me come up with a plan for how to operationalize this information, basically. So I'm going to tell it, hey, I want you to read the full report and pretend to be a chief strategic officer here. And then I'm going to tell it to embody the role of a ruthless chief strategic officer and apply strategic and operational analysis frameworks to come up with a list of potential attack vectors or kill shots to take down this company. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to have it do an attack-focused SWOT analysis. It's going to use Porter's 5 forces from the attacker lens, the value chain analysis framework with a disruption focus, and the business model canvas framework using an attack simulation. So very offensive, very aggressive, and ruthless, right? Now, one thing you'll notice real quick is in the top left, I switched my model again. We were originally on O3, and anytime you run a deep research query, it always uses O3 by default in the background. But we're going to switch to O3 Pro. Now, O3 Pro is only accessible to the Pro tier, which is $200 a month, or the Teams tier, which is $25 a month. And again, that's the one that I recommend for most companies. Now, if you are using O3 Pro, it is hands down the best model in the world. Just is.
Is that a cost per user or?
The 25 a month, yeah, it is. 25 a month. And one of the things I want to talk about is obviously the ROI here. So what I would normally suggest is that companies start with the free version for most employees and turn off training in the settings for ChatGPT, which again is up here, settings, data controls, and turn that off. And the reason I recommend you start with the free version for most folks is that they need to start getting into the habit of using it. So they need to start using this every single day, finding the right use cases, learning prompt engineering, etc. Once they are using it every day and they know how to use it, then they are no doubt going to get an ROI from it. $25 a month, yeah, it adds up, but the amount of value you're going to get on an individual basis is far, far beyond, hundredfold more than $25 a month. And that's something that I hope to show people over these sessions. Now, remember, O3 Pro is the world's best model. The only downside to O3 Pro is that it takes a while. It can take anywhere from a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, up to 15 or 20 minutes. I've seen it go. So again, it's thinking about our analysis here. This one's probably only going to take 2 or 3 minutes if I had to guess. We don't have to stick around here and wait for it. But I did want to run this because it gives you much better results when coming up with these kill shots against this company. So I'll just add another section here. Does anybody have any questions about what we've seen so far, or anything else you want me to get to before I finish this and transition to what's next in AI?
No.
Okay. How y'all feeling? Do you feel like you're starting to see some of the value you can get out of these tools? Because I want to make sure I'm conveying that to you.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. So let's kick it off. I'll give you oh, never mind. We'll just read this now. Just finish. Okay. So this took 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So here we go. This is a kill the company vulnerability map against Robert M. Curry. So the first attack vector here, the thing that it is suggesting, is that you do a talent raid blitz. So preemptively recruit and overpay RMC's remaining senior team leaders to hollow out its client-facing expertise. And here's the rationale from the dossier. There's repeated departures of veteran senior vice presidents to rivals. Glassdoor notes toxic culture and limited upward mobility. Desired adverse effect on RMC, immediate drop in service quality, clients lose their personal trusted advisor, accelerating churn. Another attack vector here, culture exposure campaign, anonymously disseminate screenshots of Glassdoor complaints and ex-employee quotes to prospective clients via whisper marketing. This is pretty brutal, but the evidence here is hostile environment and nepotism claims, small client base value stability. And then buyers question RMC's bench strength, negotiate lower fees, or switch to us, right? Another one, succession shock narrative, public white paper highlighting founder-centric risk, question who runs engagements when Bob and Pat retire. Here's the rationale. Family-dominated C-suite, Bob in industry for over 40 years. This undermines confidence, fuels RFPs seeking institutional providers, which would be us. So there's a couple other things. Here's a tech platform shock. Lots of free cloud RMIS dashboard bundling benchmark analytics. Position our paid consulting as an add-on. RMC relies on manual, low-tech RMC process, no proprietary software. This reframes buyer expectations toward data-rich, SaaS-enhanced services that RMC cannot match without CapEx. There's a number of other things on this list, obviously. How's this looking to you all?
Interesting, but a little general, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, fair. All right. So do you all have other information on this company? Because one of the things that may be a challenge here is that it's only looking for what's publicly available and it can only go off of what's publicly available. So if you have win-loss interviews or you have information that maybe is not publicly available, if you were to add that in here, you would likely get far more specific suggestions.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but they're a private company and they don't do a lot. Public information is limited on them, so
Yeah, makes sense.
that's
So the
fine.
more you all can provide, the better results you can get.
Can I ask a different question?
Please.
If you were to take the same concept and look towards our own firm and see weaknesses that we may have and things
Yeah.
like, you could run the reverse in theory, right? So
Exactly. So finding weaknesses in yourselves and then creating a counter strategy, essentially risk mitigation strategy.
I don't want to see that right now.
Yeah, no, we don't want to see that. I will leave that as an exercise to the viewer for sure. You can do that yourselves. That's great. And Heather, what were you thinking? The lawsuit question? Could you expand on that? And then
Yes, I thought one of their questions was talk about the lawsuits.
Oh.
Maybe we didn't put that in the prompt.
Yeah, thank you. Good point. Okay, so let's see. RMC's professional liabilities, errors and omissions could be significant. The user specified inquiry about litigation. While we found no record of client lawsuits, there was an employment-related lawsuit in 2017, Wilson versus RMC. Yeah, Heather, thank you for reminding me of that. So there you go. Here's something to start off with. That's interesting. It looks like you could pull some of this information, which doesn't directly reflect on service quality, but does hint at internal issues. And I think you can see in in the attack vectors that it was coming up with, it was over and over saying you should go after their people. That seems to be where they have the weakest link. That's very interesting. Yeah. And it seems to be just about that one lawsuit right now. So Michael, do you know about any other lawsuits? Anything else you're thinking about in particular?
We might have lost him for a second.
Yeah, all good. Very good. Well, we have 15 more minutes. I want to start wrapping up with some of the ways that AI is going to start changing the field here. So let's talk about implications here. This is another study from the Boston Consulting Group which found that those who used GPT-4 finished 12.2% more tasks. They completed their tasks 25.1% more quickly, and they produced 40% higher quality results. So, when we do start talking about ROI here, we have to ask, is 12.2% more tasks completed with 40% higher quality results? Is that worth $20 a month? Chances are the answer is yes, right? And you can see in the data here, the folks who did not use AI, they're in the blue here. The folks who did use AI are in the green and the red. And there's a pretty distinct difference between these two groups in terms of their quality level, which is the x-axis here. And essentially, as this technology improves, I do expect these groups to further widen. There's a study about the labor market effects of generative AI and the average number of minutes to complete a task with and without Gen AI. And you see an efficiency boost or a drop in time spent pretty much across the board here. Negotiation, service orientation, time management, operations and control, persuasion, instruction, coordination, installation, repairing, programming, equipment selection, right? So there is no doubt that we are going to see an efficiency boost from this technology. But the challenge is that it requires more than just handing somebody ChatGPT and saying, hey, you're going to be 30% more effective now. Good luck. Because the challenge is that people don't know when to use AI. They don't know how to use it. They don't know prompt engineering. They don't know how to reduce hallucinations. And they also don't know, they haven't established a behavior or a habit around using it. And that's another key point. Now, you may have heard of this phrase, AI is not going to replace you, but a person using AI will. And that's absolutely true. I mean, you can kind of see that in this data. When I'm hiring somebody, do I want to hire the person that is sworn off the computer and says, I only use a slide rule and an abacus? Or do you want to hire the person who's an Excel ninja? I think it's pretty clear. Now, the thing about this, though, this phrase, AI is not going to replace you, someone using AI will. That doesn't just apply to individuals, that applies to companies. Because when you have a company that is able to do the work of 100 employees, but with only 5, because those 5 employees are managing a team of AI agents, that's what your competition starts to look like. That's what an AI first organization starts to look like. And we're starting to see this start to roll out. Shopify, for instance, they're rolling out their AI culture here. This is a memo from their CEO saying using AI is now a fundamental expectation of everyone at Shopify.
Ross, can I jump in for a second?
Please.
So we're in a highly specialized consultancy business. I have seen an email from an employee where they answered a question from a client posed a question, and they provided an answer that was curious to me. When I asked them about the answer, where they got that answer from, they said they got it from ChatGPT. How do we, and it was accurate, but more misleading than accurate, and generally speaking, should not have gone to the client that way. It seems dangerous to kind of open this up to the company, and then maybe more junior people rely on answers. Maybe they haven't asked the question correctly, rely on something they got from ChatGPT, and then present it as advice, consultancy advice that we give to our clients.
Yeah.
It's a bit treacherous, would seem.
Totally agree. So a couple thoughts on this. One is, unfortunately, you're not going to stop it in the sense of people are using this technology, especially junior level folks. Whether you block it on your network or forbid it in an AI use policy, whatever that is, folks will just pull out their phone and use it. There is no stopping this. We've seen this in a number of different kind of experiments where some companies will just block it, people use it. Beyond that, what it sounds like that employee was doing, and I could be wrong here, is taking the person's question, putting it into ChatGPT, getting the answer back, and then responding to that person. Meaning there was no filtering of the information. There was no critical analysis about what's right or what's wrong there. That person was essentially offloading their thinking onto the AI. And when you start talking about just generic ChatGPT, that's not tied into your data. So it doesn't know how your company would handle that kind of an inquiry by default. It doesn't know generally your company's philosophy or your values and how you would address that. Now, you can tie an AI into your company data so that it's able to look up how you would normally respond to something like this. You can additionally make it so that it just gives you a draft and speeds up your process, but then there's a bit of critical thinking and analysis that goes into that answer to modify. So this is where training comes in for your team to make sure they know how to use these tools and that it accelerates their thinking rather than just offloading their thinking. Additionally, this is where you would want to have a system that's tied into your data so that it can answer from your data and give you better results. And then the other part of this is I would use AI for training. So you can use AI so that a junior level person would talk to the AI about different consultancy questions and scenarios and have it push back on them, have it challenge them, and then essentially you all can review how they did.
Can I ask, couldn't companies or couldn't we as a company think about integrating a chatbot, let's say into Slack, into a company-wide channel that then those questions can be asked and we can see, like globally, we could see what questions are being asked, and basically our AI policy is then to use the internal chatbot for those, not
Love
an
it.
external one, right? Couldn't
Yeah.
we do something like that so there's some control? So if an answer is wrong, the team like collectively could say that doesn't seem right, yada yada yada, right? So there's
Yeah.
eyes on the use case of it. So Mike, maybe that's a future way to control it so that it's not everybody off in themselves answering things that are incorrect. And then in theory, we could train that chatbot off of the data we provided, right? So that it's more controlled, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said from an implementation standpoint. That's a great use case, making it so that you all can review that and then making it easily accessible via Slack. It's pretty straightforward to set that up. But yeah, Mike, very valid concern there. And again, my thought on that briefly would be that's what happens when people just offload their thinking to the AI. And you do tend to see that when folks just first start using this technology, no doubt. So there's several companies that are, again, kind of implementing this into their culture, essentially. And you can see Shopify is one of them. They're going to start incorporating AI questions into their performance questionnaire, their peer review questionnaire. You can learn on your own, but you got to share what you learn. And then additionally, before asking for more headcount, teams have to demonstrate why they can't get what they want done using AI. And then, Mike, I did have one other thought. For consulting, your answers are a huge part of your value. And so maybe you actually don't use AI to help you answer questions, but rather you use it for more menial tasks like filling out vendor request forms or handling AP or scheduling calls and doing communications that way. So there are a lot of kind of more on the ground tasks that you could have it handle rather than that real value area for you.
Great.
So we're also seeing this with Duolingo. They're coming out and saying, hey, we're going to stop using contractors that can do the work of AI. And again, headcount will only be given to teams if we can't automate more of their work already using AI. Box said something similar. So these companies are taking a line in the sand here saying, hey, AI is not a fleeting thing. It is happening. We need to start incorporating it into our company. So I want to show you a couple things. One is just an exponential graph here of where this technology is going. In 2019, GPT-2 was released. It took a year and a half to release GPT-3, 2.5 years to release GPT-4, and then a year to get to GPT-4o. Then we started seeing monthly releases instead of yearly releases, and that's the cadence that we're on right now. And you can see this graph is called ArcAGI. It is a measure of human level pattern recognition. And as we progress, the distance between the AI releases is shrinking and the capabilities are massively improving, leading to this exponential graph. Now, did everybody hear about this one? This is the Stargate project. OpenAI and Oracle and SoftBank, they're spending $500 billion to build out AI infrastructure over the next 4 years. And so my question to you is, do you think that they're building out AI infrastructure and spending $500 billion because they want to help you write better emails and Instagram captions? No, right? They're spending this much money because they think they can automate a good chunk of economically valuable work. They think that they can do scientific breakthroughs with this technology. I don't know if you all saw Claude Code, or excuse me, Claude Computer use this last October, but this is a model that can see your computer, it can control your mouse and your keyboard, and it can take actions on your computer. It can fill out vendor request forms. Now, this is in its infancy right now, quite frankly, but it is this gives you an idea of what the AI companies are working on and what they expect to release by the end of this year. This is called computer use when it comes to AI agents. And so I just want to start wrapping this up by saying, what do you need to do to prepare? Because this technology is not going away. These companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build out these models. And again, if you just look at the last 2 years, we are on an exponential curve of the capabilities of these things. If something is not possible today, you have to just revisit it in 3 to 6 months. GPT-5 is slated to come out this summer, as early as this month, as late as likely September. And you want to review that and see what it's able to do that its predecessors couldn't. So how do you prepare for this? Make sure that you are assigning an AI champion in your organization, someone who's going to be aggressive and push this forward for you all. Make sure you have set up an environment where you feel safe to share your information with your AI models. Again, I would normally recommend ChatGPT Team and just have your training turned off automatically for that. Make sure you have an AI strategy, but more importantly, make sure you have a business strategy that integrates AI. AI is just a fundamental technology. Think of it just like the computer. We don't want to have a business strategy without accounting for the fact that computers exist, right? That's part of it. From a bottom-up perspective, do your employees know how to use these tools to save 2 to 3 hours a day? Do they know how to build their own AI agents? Do they know how to use ChatGPT effectively? If they don't, you should really consider getting them some sort of training. Socialize. Make sure that your team is sharing and building AI prompts, a prompt library, and sharing use cases. Start creating a culture of AI where you have an AI spotlight of the week. You are financially incentivizing folks, and then research and adopt this new technology as it comes out, and it will come quickly. So I just want to end with a recap of what our company does. We help others with strategy, training, and implementing AI agents, GPTs, prompt libraries, etc., getting them actually started and getting value with this technology. Our primary entry point for most companies is typically our 6-week AI bootcamp, where we get your team understanding how do you use this tech to get the most out of it. We do have more specific bootcamps as well, AI for marketing, AI for CEOs, CFOs, AI for automation, etc. But with that said, I know we only have 1 minute left and I want to respect everybody's time. Does anybody have any last questions? And I will say, please reach out to me. I'm happy to do a call with anybody on here if you think this could benefit your business. But any last questions?
No, it's fascinating. Just scratching the surface. Almost scary how where this goes next.
It's very scary. I mean, even if you all don't feel like you're ready yet, I would say check back in a month or two when GPT-5 is out there. Things are going to continue to move very, very rapidly, as I'm sure you've seen already.
This
Russ, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's been
Thanks.
great.
everybody.
Thank you.